The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised.
The owner of a local restaurant is shot dead and an armed robbery gone awry. His beloved pet Parrot is stolen by a customer who meets her fate at the hands of the robber. Now, there are 2 dead bodies, and the only witness has feathers and a beak. Polly won a cracker. Living peacefully in his small apartment just down the street from his diner, small business owner Morty Nelson rises from bed and starts to get ready for his day. With no close family, the first thing he does every day is say hello to his only companion, a talkative parrot named Crackers.
Hello. Good morning.
Hi.
Hi.
Morty has devoted his life to his pet, spending the past 7 years teaching Crackers a multitude of tricks and words.
Let's go.
Even renaming his restaurant the Birdcage Bar and Grill in Crackers' honor. Morty opens the diner with his cook Pedro, expecting a slow afternoon. He places Crackers on his perch in the corner, hoping that the bird's charm will bring in some customers.
Literally need you to talk me up some business today, okay?
Ever since his adoption, Crackers has become a local celebrity.
Hey, Crackers. What's up, Crackers?
Hey, Birdie.
Que lindo estás, Crackers.
And Morty has even trained his bird to greet returning patrons by name,
Hi.
making him the highlight of meals for many customers.
Oh, such a cutie.
Being a celebrity, any kind of celebrity, even a local celebrity like Crackers, it's kind of a double-edged sword because people want to come around you, they want to flock to you, and that's good and bad because sometimes some of those people are shady. And when those shady people get involved in your life, sometimes things go bad, and they go bad quickly. Right, Crackers?
On this Friday afternoon, Morty realizes that this is the 2nd month in a row in which business has been slower than usual. He sends his cook home, afraid he won't have enough money to pay him for a full day's work. Just an hour later, Morty is fixing up a dessert for an old patron in the diner, a beautiful woman named Regina DeLang, who has taken a liking to Crackers. As Morty heads back to the kitchen to wash some plates, a man enters the diner. He looks to Regina and flashes a sultry smile. Despite not knowing him, she smiles back. But when Morty returns from the kitchen, the man pulls out a gun and shoots Morty dead. Before Regina can scream, the man turns and points the gun at her. Not a peep, he says with his glare. The man goes straight to the money box behind the counter and grabs all the cash. Regina watches, silent, terrified. It's Crackers who begins to shout.
Robber! Robber!
The man shoots the parrot a murderous glance, but Crackers shouts on.
Robber! Crackers, shut up!
So, he shoots the parrot a cold, hard bullet. He misses, but Crackers shuts up. The man approaches Regina and asks for her license. He takes a look and gives her a parting gift. If she tells anyone about the murder, he will track her down and kill her.
I'm not gonna tell anyone!
Then he winks and disappears. Regina quickly pulls out her purse, pays for her meal in cash, grabs Crackers, and runs home. When Regina reaches her apartment, she picks up the phone to call the police, but then puts it down. She remembers he will kill her if she talks.
Everyone reacts differently to traumatic events, and this lady had no idea that staying for dessert was going to drag her into a homicide. And the icing on this cake is that her life will be threatened if she calls the police.
And what about crackers, she thinks? She decides she'll keep him until police are able to solve Morty Nelson's murder on their own.
In her confused stupor, Regina made a significant mistake. She took something that was recognizable by anybody in town. So what does she do? She can't give it to somebody because they'll know immediately who it is. And here's the problem. If you've seen a murder and you don't report it, you could be considered an accessory after the fact.
Police arrive at the restaurant and begin an investigation. On the case is Detective Laura Brewer, a new transfer from a district in Harlem. Brewer leads the charge in search for evidence, but the bar and grill doesn't offer much. There are no security cameras to capture what took place, no eyewitnesses, and police can't decide on a motive. What was the initial target of the robbery? Was it the cash missing from the money box, or was it the famous bird in the window?
Police have seen it all. They've seen people kill for drugs, for memorabilia, even for small amounts of cash. Everything has a price tag, so they can't rule out the thought that somebody killed for crackers.
Detective Brewer discovers her only clue on a table, a half-eaten cupcake, a bill overpaid in cash, a seemingly random bullet hole from above Cracker's perch, and bright orange lipstick on a coffee cup.
These are clues that lead to a number of different and conflicting conclusions. If this was a robbery, why was the money left over? And why did the person massively overpay? Second, if the robbery was intended to secure the bird, then why did they shoot at it? And now that they've got it, does that mean the bird could be dead by now? Everything in this case seems to be pointing to one conclusion. The person who killed Morty was there to steal crackers.
After Detective Brewer collects the evidence, she turns to the body of Morty Nelson. She thoroughly inspects him to see if there were any clues left behind. But she finds nothing. The clock is ticking. Brewer has to act fast to find the killer before he strikes again. Detective Brewer knows that bright orange lipstick is worn by very few women, and she begins asking neighbors to the diner if they were aware of any woman who wears that particular shade.
Police!
Hours of door-to-door interviews finally give way to a name, Regina DeLang, a woman known in the area for being eccentric. Neighbors all offer fantastical stories about Regina, but despite all the hoopla surrounding her personality, not a single person who knows Regina knows where she lives. And the police have no address for her listed.
Sometimes it's better not to have a witness at all than have one who's certifiably crazy. But Detective Brewer needs to find this woman and make a decision, because it's very possible this woman isn't crazy. She's just eccentric.
Meanwhile, back at her apartment, Regina is having difficulty taking care of Crackers.
Want to try a granola bar? Whoa, you look scared.
She can't get him to eat anything, and worse still, she doesn't know what to feed him. But things take a dark turn when she receives a mysterious phone call. The voice sounds like the killer at the Birdcage Bar and Grill.
These are Regina's worst fears confirmed. The killer is making good on his promises, and she can't ignore him anymore.
After a few minutes of seemingly normal chit-chat, the killer says he's going to come over to her house so they can cook dinner because she owes him for not killing her. If she refuses, he'll burn down her apartment building.
At this point, Regina does not have much going for her. I mean, she doesn't know the guy's name. She doesn't even know where he lives. She got nothing for the police. And she's afraid that they might not believe her anyway because she was the one who took the bird. So If she then goes and accepts this guy's plan instead of going to the police, though, there's something wrong with her brain chemistry.
Regina dances around the man's request for as long as she can, trying to form a plan of action, but the more they talk, the more he turns on the charm. In just a few minutes, Regina's guard is down, and she jokes with the killer. She asks if he has any plans to kill her when he comes over, and he says he only wants his thank you dinner, and then he'll be on his way. Regina hesitates, and then agrees to the dinner if he promises she will not be harmed. Just before he arrives, Regina suddenly worries that if the killer sees Crackers again, he could be enraged. She stuffs Crackers into a kitchen cabinet and tells him to shut up.
Okay, bye, sweetie, bye, Crackers. Whew.
Minutes later, the killer arrives to Regina's apartment with a bag of groceries, and he tells her he will help her cook a gourmet Italian dinner. The two cook dinner, making conversation and having a good time. Regina's guard continues to drop, and he feeds her baby tomatoes. Her attraction to him grows stronger and stronger. They continue to spend the evening flirting and laughing, a budding romance between them.
Toast.
Over dinner, the man begins to allude to the reasons why he killed Morty, claiming that Morty had a terrible secret and debt that cost him his life. But the man says he's done killing. That was his last one.
This is easily the most bizarre day in Regina's life, and that's saying a lot. She's just cooked dinner for a man who's killed somebody, and now she's considering kissing him.
The killer asks Regina if the police ever visited her with questions about Morty. Regina is quick to tell him that she has stayed home all day, and she hasn't talked to anyone but him since she got back to her apartment.
I promise you. I pinky swear.
Regina has just made a potentially fatal mistake. She's let the killer know that she is the last and only witness.
Thank you very much.
I have some dessert that I brought.
I love desserts.
He gets out of his seat and pulls a pair of plastic gloves from a grocery bag, telling Regina that he wants to make her a special European dessert, but that he needs the gloves in case things get sticky.
I'm done.
You're gonna love it.
I'm sure I'm gonna love it.
As Regina listens, the killer quickly spins around and jabs a knife into her stomach, covering her mouth with his free hand. The killer slowly slumps Regina over the kitchen table. He runs back to the bag and withdraws a fake suicide letter and places it on the kitchen table. Hours later, Detective Brewer finally tracks down where Regina lives. She knocks on the door. No one answers. Upon entering Regina's home, Detective Brewer stumbles on a gruesome sight. A fairly new crime scene in which Regina DeLange has major stab wounds and is dead. Brewer quickly takes a first look over Regina, only to hear something chattering from a nearby cabinet. Inside, she finds Crackers and immediately puts the bird on the counter as he keeps saying, "Robber, robber." After calming the bird down, Detective Brewer turns her attention to the suicide note on the kitchen table. A quick reading lets her know that the note is a cover-up. The letter has been typed instead of handwritten.
This guy is a major overachiever, yet still a minor idiot. If you come to a scene where somebody's dead and there's a typed suicide note, it's always suspicious because people tend to write out their last thoughts, and somebody who types it is probably trying to hide their own handwriting.
To make matters even more suspicious, Detective Brewer's quick search of Regina's apartment shows that she doesn't even own a computer or typewriter. But Brewer does find a stick of orange lipstick in Regina's bathroom. This means they're on the right path.
Now they've cleared up a few things. The killer was actually after whatever was in Morty's cash box, and they could care less about the bird. Otherwise, they would have taken it when they left Regina's house. The one thing they know for certain is that there's still a killer out there, and they need a break in this case.
Detective Brewer quickly tosses out the theory that Regina committed suicide. Now, her only clue may lie with Crackers, who continues to shriek. Out of leads, Detective Brewer goes over her case file one more time.
It's gotta be feeling pretty impossible for the detectives at this point. I mean, this was a really messy murder and there's a lot of evidence, but none of it ties together.
But as Brewer watches forensic experts go over Crackers with a comb for any physical evidence, she listens closely as Crackers continuously shrieks, "Robber! Robber!" Brewer finds it odd that out of all the words that Morty would have taught his parrot, that he would have taught him robber, as it would be a word the parrot would really never use. She remembers from an interview with the diner's cook that Morty taught Crackers the names of certain customers. That way they could be greeted when they entered the restaurant.
And suddenly, it clicks. They might have their best clue right in front of them.
Brewer posits that Crackers is not saying robber at all, but is actually saying the name, Robert. On a hunch, she races back to the bar and finds a number of receipts from the past few days on the counter. She thinks Morty must have known his killer, which is why he was killed instead of just robbed.
It's a crazy Hail Mary kind of hunch, but when somebody is on the loose out there killing people, you have to follow every lead.
Brewer finds a number of Roberts in the receipts and quickly scans the names in the police database to see if any had previous run-ins with the law. One, Robert Penny, committed a string of assaults and a number of past jobs that included him working with mafia types as an enforcer. Lately, it had been rumored that Penny's newest business venture involved extracting money from small business owners who take loans out with gangs. Detective Brewer sets out to find Robert Penny.
When you've got a rap sheet as long as Robert Penny's, guess what? You go right to the top of the suspect list. Congratulations. And Detective Brewer is thinking, you know, if Penny isn't actually the killer, he hangs around with a community of people who probably knows who did it.
Brewer learns that he works part-time at a department store. In under an hour, she's able to find him and bring him in for questioning.
So now Detective Brewer has to be careful. Her prime witness is a bird, a pretty bird. But imagine trying to take that to trial. You're gonna walk into the court and try not to be laughed out of the room by the judge and the jury.
So where were you the morning?
Brewer hammers Robert on his whereabouts the morning of Morty Nelson's death. But Penny's only alibi is that he was out for a morning walk. She questions him about his whereabouts later that night when Regina was killed.
I probably went home and took a nap.
The detective continues to hit him hard in questioning. Who takes a nap at 7 o'clock at night? When was the last time he visited Morty's restaurant? Finally, Brewer nails Robert with the question she's been hoping to ask him all along. Did you murder Morty Nelson? Robert denies any wrongdoing, saying,
You don't have any evidence. You don't have any witnesses. You don't have anything against me. You have to let me go.
but Detective Brewer plays a hand that leaves Robert stunned. She tells him that the fatal mistake he made was that he left a witness behind who successfully ID'd him.
This is an incredibly risky thing for a detective to do because she's given Robert all the information he needs to make sure he walks on this crime. All he has to do is play it smart because all Detective Brewer has is the testimony of a parrot.
Detective Brewer can see Robert turn pale. She thinks she can hook him as long as she keeps the witness ambiguous enough. Meanwhile, Robert is thinking, who did he miss? Was someone in the kitchen, the bathroom, or are they here watching him?
Fine, I will tell you everything.
Robert finally cracks under the pressure and admits he killed Morty and stole the cash because Morty had not been making payments to Robert's bosses for nearly 18 months. After his confession, Detective Brewer asks Robert if he would like to face the individual who ID'd him at the scene of the crime. Scoffing, Robert obliges, wanting to see who would be at his mercy if he was ever released from prison. Brewer takes Penny out of the interrogation room, where he sees Crackers in a cage. The bird instantly begins yelling, "Robert! Robert! Robert! Robert is stunned, a mix of anger and frustration at his being duped by a detective and a bird. But he knows that his confession has already put him away for good.
This is the kind of case that's solved only by a creative, even an imaginative detective. And what's ironic about this is while Robert Penny is going to be rotting behind bars for the rest of his life, Crackers has escaped. Crackers is going to live the rest of his life in a bird sanctuary. Never again behind bars, never again a jailbird.